swim 3 times a week. I'm doing better, 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 better. And when I look at helping my clients, helping my things, I have to say, I don't like having a open heart surgery, but it made me even a better coach and therapist and human being. It's a pity, I have to say, that sometimes you need really hit the wall really, really, really hard to get another layer of yourself.
Yes, it's like that saying, right? Like you don't know what you're capable of until you
Yeah,
struggled for a long period of
yeah,
time or if you've gone through a difficult
yeah,
situation, right?
absolutely. So true. And we all know it. And the funny part is, I won't say I'm blessed, but I'm healthy and all those kind of things. But I never really had an experience that you do all the things you think I could, because I live healthy, sport, eat. Now, I'm really, you could almost say, a health freak. The genetics says, okay, your heart valve's not functioning. If you don't do anything, you're in 3 months dead. And then somewhere dealing with that frustration is what we can work as a coach, as a therapist in human beings. But I have to say, to experience that frustration is something totally different. That is really out of your hands. And whatever you did helped, but also did not help. That's rather,
I
I would say,
agree.
interesting topic.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And that's part of the reason why we're here today, right?
Yeah,
Because you're going to speak to us about how trauma impacts us from the brain to our feet to our hands throughout the entire body. So Chris, do me a favor. When it comes to trauma and its impact, through your experiences personally and through the people you work with,
yeah.
what are some of the impacts of trauma to the body?
Okay, now, first for all your audience, let me just give me an 30 seconds of introduction, like we're in an elevator. Of course, you know me, but all your listeners don't. Say the last 30 years, I've been working as a coach, a clinical hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, and also professor at the Business School Madrid and in Qatar for Georgetown University. I'm a master certified coach, so theoretically, I should know it all. I say theoretically. Worked all around the world because I lived 9 years in Australia, 5 years in Spain, and as you can hear, originally Dutch. And that always challenged me, and I come back to your trauma thing, that 80% of my clients I could help easily. And those 20%, somewhere always hit the wall from, hey, I know it, Chris. I know what I should do, but something is stopping me. Something else is in charge. And based on my own, I would say, burnout, divorces, and all my studies, I came aware that, and then you come to the body, that we actually have 3 brains. One between our ears, that we all know, but really a brain in your heart with 100,000 brain cells who can do exactly the same as upstairs, except it does not know future and past, and 500 million brain cells in your gut system, but can do exactly the same as upstairs, memorize, make decisions, and they can all make independent decisions. Now, what's the beauty and horrible thing of trauma? Besides it affects our logical mind, because we know what happened, we saw it happening, we create a story of it. Your heart and your gut get involved and they also learn. Your heart learns when it's based on connections. And so somebody you really love dies, you get betrayed in your relationship, and you find your best friend in your bed with your partner, or those kind of horrible stories. And your gut gets uh, um, really traumatized when it's a life-threatening situation. So all the war veterans, police people, firefighters, who sometimes have to deal with, hey, their own safety. And the pity and the beauty of that is we can logically understand what happens to us. We can even logically get rid of our issue, what we had in the past. But the heart and the gut don't respond just on logic. You cannot say, hey, dear God, can you just forget that I had an open heart surgery, that my best friends got hit by a car, that my girlfriend was betraying with one of my friends, that actually I almost had a near-death experience in the car, or those kind of stuff, or in war. They don't listen. So you have to communicate with them differently. Of course, they can forget it, or they cannot forget it. They can put it somewhere in a time frame in the past. Because the heart and the gut, as I said, they don't know time. So when we think about next week, our head knows next week. Our head knows also last week. Your heart and gut always live in the present like a dog. So when the trauma happens, they believe it's still now, or the learning is still now. So in all the situations you occur somewhere, they use that learned lesson in the now. Hence why you talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome. People respond from, hey, I hear a snap, and people duck down because they think it's a sniper or something else that happens. Because the gut on that moment think, oh, we still live in the now. A bang means dive. So the moment we like to change that, we have to educate them differently. Now, so in the body, it's there. Then secondly, besides the two memory systems, there's an other system. That's what they call the body has the memory. We have all nerves through our whole body, as we know. When there's a trauma happening, a neurotransmitter P from Papa gets released somewhere in a nerve, where it's somewhere connected with. What happens? A nerve ends not in a muscle, but in between the muscles or in between the cells, what we call the fascia. That's little white skin around every organ. When the transmitter P, Papa, is released, that little fascia becomes a little bit tight, becomes a little bit structured. It feels like a sore point. And that's a trigger point almost for going to the heart. We got to rememorize it. Hence, sometimes people do yoga or somatic kind of things. That when they got a massage, they think, oh, wow, I have to cry, or something happened to me, or what's happening? And the same as kinesiology and the muscle testing works on the same principles. In the muscle testing, you can actually test where the body sometimes stops it. So there are two systems actually in the body that know that something happens. One is just a trigger point, the body, and the heart and the gut actually really know and remember. So I don't hope all your audience now think from, oh, wow, we got biology class 0.1, please stop, Chris. But this is how it works biologically. And for healing, it's extremely important to know your head is part of the solution, but is not the solution. Your heart and the gut are actually the parts that really are the things that bring the solution. If it stays there, you keep on living your memory, you keep on living your trauma.
I remember someone shared that with me as well, the way you explained it. And they highlighted that is why you feel your trauma in different areas of your
Yeah,
body,
yeah,
because it's your body signaling to you, right? And you mentioned that it's in your guts, it's in
yeah,
your heart and things
yeah,
like that. It's like, for me, like when I start to feel like, if I recall like a traumatic
yeah,
experience, let's say from my childhood, right?
uh,
And I start to feel it in my chest. My chest gets
yeah,
warm, right? And then all of a sudden, some other people say that,
yeah,
oh, I feel a little queasy, like I feel
yeah,
sick to my stomach, to my
yeah,
gut,
yeah.
right? What do you think then is preventing some people from acknowledging what their body is telling them and hopefully finding a solution to resolve it?
Beautiful point what you said. And what you actually say is two responses. When you say your own childhood and you feel it warm in your chest, 9 out of 10, that is your heart, brain, who remembers the misconnections or the rejections or the not being acknowledged from your childhood. Most of them. And not because your parents are bad per se, but dealing with their own issues, they did not give what we as a child needed. And our hearts feels rejected, doesn't feel bonded, doesn't feel seen, and therefore the heart remembers. Now, the other person says, hey, I get sick in my stomach is more a life connection moment. And there's more from, hey, the gut thinks, hey, this is somewhere dangerous for me in my survival system. It doesn't mean right away a near-death experience, but somewhere you don't get food. You have to go to your room without having dinner. Not having dinner is actually a gut-brain response. Your gut feels that. Those two things happens. Now, why don't we listen to it? Because they don't talk to us. Like, everybody almost has a critical voice. I know that when I don't do the bed, I still hear it. Are you really going to leave the room without doing your bed, Chris? I think, yes, mom. No, mom. And I know it and I laugh about it. And I just keep that voice in there. And that's okay. But that is language, that is words. So we can hear it here and we can understand. Your body gives signals, sensations. And that warm feeling in your chest, what does it mean? When you feel love for somebody, you could feel warm in your chest. When you feel rejection, it can also feel warm in your chest. When you feel sadness, it can also feel warm in your chest. So it's not really a language we write the way the head understands. So we feel that sensations, and if we not really are educated in it, or actually we don't ask a professional for it, from what does it mean, most of us ignore it. I don't know, you look sporty, Terrain. Do you do sports? A lot still?
I used to be very active in sports. I used to participate more than watching it, so now I watch it a little bit more. But yeah, I'm a pretty active guy.
Yeah, you look at, so you know those moments when you're, say, training and your body says, "Ooh, this hurts, I like to stop." But you also know that if you like to gain more muscle, if you like to just be faster, be quicker, be better, you have to go through that point of where your body says, stop. The resistance training. So actually, we learn, if you do that a lot of times, that actually pain in your body is a signal, I have to go on. I did triathlon when I was young, the Olympic triathlon. I did water polo. I learned actually pain is part of the game. My burnout was also a result of that. Because even though I worked hard and had all my stuff and I felt pain, my system thought, oh, that is just like in sport. You just have to ignore it. Just go harder. Just go faster. Now, that led to me to burnout because the signals that my body gave, my head interpreted, oh, that's the same as water polo. It's the same as Olympic triathlon. But actually it was, you sleep 4 hours a day. You are a senior partner in a training company. You manage a team. You work 80 hours a week. You just got a divorce. You have 3 young kids. You have to pay alimony. You just moved on. You have a discussion with your ex-partner. And those pains, my body said actually, oh, that's the same as water polo. It's not the same. And that's what I see with so many clients. That, oh yeah, Chris, but I have already a sore neck for a long time. So it's somewhere there. That's what we call the sore spot in your neck. That is really, if people look at, it's there. If that is painful, most times it's stress. And stress means actually you're holding on to something, a fight or flight response, whatever it is. And most people don't recognize them more. They say, oh, maybe I worked too hard. Oh, maybe I swore too hard. Oh, maybe I did this. But they don't dive in what it really means. So we did not learn, or we are not educated. What does it really mean? And the moment we start learning it and we start listening to it, and what does the body really tell us, then we can also start using almost rather quickly the healing process. Because the beauty is, our body likes to be healthy, period. Every dead cell in the body, and in a minute, millions of body cells die. Really millions. So in our talk, we have already for 15 minutes, probably 50 million cells in our body died, Terrain. And our body is extremely capable of removing those and replacing them for new ones. Our body likes to be healthy. So when it's not healthy, it means actually, or we have pain, it means actually, hey, I stop myself. Now, based on the fact we have 3 brains and we're so smart and so stupid on the same moment, we don't allow the body to heal itself anymore. And that is based on food, what we eat, that's based on the stress we see, that's based on our beautiful phones that are just so addictive that you go to social media when you don't have to do anything. And people go, I was recently in a public toilet. I don't know how to use your train. You go in the public toilet and I see a guy on his phone peeing. And I was really hoping, I'm not going to the next to him because I really hope he's peeing in the right direction, not looking around. People cannot leave their phone anymore for 1 second. So we get totally disconnected from our own body and our own mind. I know it's a long story, but there's really, they don't talk in language, our body, that's one. And secondly, we don't actually learned or unlearned really to listen to our body.
You mentioned a good point when it comes to the cell phones and the distractions.
Mhm.
And the reason why I want to continue with that is there are sometimes people will bury themselves in external activities instead of addressing the issues within their
Yeah.
body. So I'll give you an example. So you may have someone who is stressed out, who is worrying about something, who is unable to function. It's
Yeah.
impacting their friendships,
Yeah.
it's impacting relationships. So what do so many people do? They bury themselves in work. They bury themselves in
Yeah.
what I call doom scrolling, where they're just
Yeah.
on Instagram or TikTok and scrolling and scrolling. And by the time their thumb gets tired, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and they have to be at
Yeah.
work for 9, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think are some of the dangers in people trying to soothe themselves externally with cell phones, with alcohol, with drugs, with women, with men, instead of addressing the issues head on and saying that I need to do some internal work?
Now, it's an amazing good point, Rain. Um, it is extremely simple if you think about three brains. As I said, the heart and the gut don't know future and past. If you think about the functions of the heart is all about bonding, about connection. It also releases oxytocin, what is the bonding or love hormone. Your gut is all about survival. It's also where immune system is located. What are their tools? The heart is about connecting, pleasing, helping people. So if there's a stress system, it seeks help from other people. It likes to bond, like a zebra goes back in the herd. That's the heart. The gut is more, say, the old primitive 500 million years ago predator that knows fight, flight, freeze, food, reproduce. So if there's a stress moment and we don't use our beautiful head, the gut takes over. Oh, wow, I don't feel good. I feel sad. I feel pain. What are my systems? Actually, as once Iron Duran was singing, sex and drugs and rock and rolls. It will use the systems it knows. It means food, liquids, reproduction, so all the Pornhub sites, or yes, that's the 8th most visited website I know. Or it likes to do something like sports or activities. Because it knows if it do sports and activities, actually it stops the brain of thinking. So if the gut brain is in charge, it will never do what's long-term healthy. The gut soothes the moment. So it does not do a soothing method where it thinks, I do this, next week I feel better. It will do something, I feel better now. And all the things you just share, Terrain, are all things that make you better or feeling better in the moment. Now looking at Instagram, oh, that's a nice post, let's like it. Oh, that's a nice song, let's like it. Oh, by the way, my second Chardonnay or my second vodka gin, oh, that feels good. Oh, by the way, that sniff, oh, that also feels good. It's always now. And everybody knows if you drink too much, smoke too much, do all the horrible stuff too much to 4 o'clock on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, the next day you suffer. But the gut brain does not know tomorrow. So it makes you feel good at 3 o'clock in the night, not knowing that at 9 o'clock you have to be sharp at your work. So the body is then actually in charge of your trauma response. And that makes people also so actually go from feeling already bad, even go worse, because the gut brain takes over and it becomes even worse. And the beauty or pity is, if you think about our beautiful evolution, the gut brain is 500 million years old. It was the first organism that actually came to this world. The heart, you could say 60 to 90 million years ago. So 400 million years later, and this beautiful thing in between our ears. So you could say 10 to 2 million years ago. So it's the latest invention. So who's in charge? Your gut. And if people say, are you sure? Then I always ask, you maybe saw the movie Avatar or The Matrix, and they are connected in their head is a plug, and everywhere is a plug. But where's the plug, Terrain? You were connected with your mama in her belly. Where's your plug? Is that somewhere your belly button? And why is your belly button and not your heart and not your head? Because we live by nutrition. The first step of the Maslow hierarchy is actually survival. Air, liquid, food. And that's your tummy. That's your gut. It needs that survival mechanism. So that one is also in charge when something happens. And that one has a way to make us feel good in the moment. So only when we start really getting our head in charge again, okay, and now I'm looking at whatever I'm doing, and you can ask yourself really the question, how will this impact me tomorrow? And from there, override your heart or your gut. You are doing good. The pity is when we are, say, in a trauma response, a lot of times the prefrontal cortex is a little bit disabled, and there's where logical thinking is located. So our body actually stops logical thinking. What makes sense? Because say you would box with Mike Tyson, even though he's 50s, I would not advise it. Then you're not going to think while you're boxing with Mike Tyson, did I actually close my house? Did I really lock it? Because you don't care. You just think, how do I stay alive these 3 minutes boxing with Mike Tyson? Your gut takes over, your survival mechanisms over. So your logical mind doesn't work. Hence, all those addictions you just called are on. And only when we really get some coaching, therapy, assistance, help, that helps the gut actually to not be in charge anymore, the healing starts. And actually, again, it sounds sometimes, it works extremely quick if you know how to connect with the gut and how to talk with it and how to help it. Because if the gut knows it's not useful, it will not do it anymore. Eh? It's extremely simple because it has a limited brain. So if it's not useful anymore, it was only useful in the past, it really drops it and thinks, okay, not useful anymore, will not do it. Boom, done.
What do you then think, Chris, are some of the reasons why people will focus on the here and now, aka the today, and not actually, let me change that. I want to ask it this way. Based on what you've just shared, do you think then some people aren't worried about tomorrow's problems? They're more focused on today's problems, not knowing that today's problems are going to impact the problems of tomorrow?
Um, Now, I think they know because most times there's regret. With all the people I worked with who have, say, alcoholic or have addictions problems in Australia where I lived, most times was alcohol because alcohol is one of the free drugs you could buy there. And a lot of people came there and came to me from, Chris, my average intake is 2 bottles of wine every day. My average intake is 1 bottle of vodka every day. And I was thinking, how can you still be functioning? Give me 2 glasses of wine, I'm already not functioning anymore. Anyhow, they know they regret it afterwards, but in the moment, it's okay. And that's the pity. If you're now in pain, say, I dislocated my shoulders 3 times. Doing water polo is in healthy sport, not always. Anyhow, when your arm is dislocated or your shoulder, I can tell you it hurts like whatever's. The last time it happened, I was next to actually, luckily, next to an hospital, the swimming pool next to an hospital. So my arm was dislocated. I support my arm only in my bathers with my little cap on. I walk out of the swimming pool, go to the hospital. Where's the first aid? Go into the first aid, walk in, and I don't give a peep about how I look. If I make everything wet, if I'm just in my bathers with a strange cap on, I don't care because I'm in pain. And the only thing when you're in pain is, I like to have a solution now. Now, this is physical pain and an arm dislocated. Everybody says, yes, it makes sense that you walk in your bathers, that you don't first put on your clothes. But say the emotional pain and physical pain is almost on the same spot in your head and the same spot in your gut. So your body does not know the difference. And when there's an emotional pain, all the body, the head, and the gut respond in the same way. Oh, I have pain. I need now a solution. And the solution now can be social media, drugs, whatever it is, porn sites, I don't know, go over running. A lot of people who have that stress become marathon runner. Why do they run marathons? Because at least they can escape and they have to train every day an hour. And they're totally addicted to their sport. So the body does that. And it's strangely when I work with those people who have an addiction, I always ask, what's the pain you like to solve? They say, the pain? No, I have an addiction. I say, no, what's the pain that you actually now, your addiction uses to solve the pain? Which pain are you actually masking with your addiction? And then becomes silent and people say, that's actually a good question. And within 5 or 10 minutes, you hear all the horrible stories. And they say, okay, so what are you here for? Do you like to stop your addiction or do you like to stop the pain? What would happen if the pain is not there anymore? Do you still need addiction? And everybody says, no, I don't need an addiction if I don't have the pain anymore, Chris. Okay, what do you like to do? I sign up, solve the pain. And when you solve the pain, the addiction falls off. For me, the most thing why people cannot do it is because they are in pain. And for everybody thinks, I can solve this. Then I would just invite, no, I don't invite. Just kick your foot really hard to the wall. Don't break it. Feel extremely painful and then say, okay, let's just think about this logically. You will not think about it logically anymore. The only thing you like to do is my foot hurts. And that is the same with emotional pain. And in this current world, emotional pain is almost everywhere. Our own childhood is 9 out of 10 emotional pain. Having parents who, with all their own struggles, don't give us what we actually need as kids. Emotional pain is at work. Train, you only did not do your work good enough. Hey, boss, but I worked 60 hours. Yeah, but you sucked today. Emotional pain. Partners do the same. They don't talk to each anymore. All the toxic things. Hey, Terrain, in the old days, you sported really hard. You had a beautiful six-pack. Now, when you now you're bathers, I see a little bit more soft Terrain. Don't you care about yourself anymore? Don't you care about me anymore? That you just let yourself go? Boom. Emotional abuse. Because actually they put guilt on you. And it is a normal world. But it is still in us pain. And the pain we like to solve. Train,
So
by the
when it
way, you look amazing. Or no jokes about your six-pack.
no, I feel good and I know that I look good, so thank you for buttering me up here. Because it's interesting that you mentioned that because there's so many people that I've worked with, and maybe you've seen this,
Yeah,
where part of their trauma
yeah,
is coming from other people reminding
yeah,
them
yeah,
of their triggers or
yeah,
triggering them, right? Like you may have someone that did work hard to lose weight,
yeah,
so it's always been a sensitive issue. Then
yeah,
someone says, "Oh, you kind of bigger in this, or you kind of look softer in that," right? Or you can have someone that grew up poor, right?
yeah,
And they worked so hard
yeah,
to give themselves a life that their parents
yeah,
couldn't give for
yeah,
whatever the reason,
yeah,
right? And then they're reminded of how
yeah,
inadequate they used to be, or maybe someone
yeah,
has shown them a lifestyle that is more lavish than
yeah.
their own. When it comes to the people that you work with, Chris, what do you think are some of the common struggles that they would face, and how do you work with them to resolve it?
Now, the two things, eh? One, why do people say that? That's 9 out of 10 people say that because they're jealous. And it is actually a gut-brain notice from, if I say something about your six-pack Terrain, it is because my six-pack is not showing. And I'm just jealous. And most of that, it is. The gut brain, the gut brain likes to win or lose. It's only winning or losing. It doesn't have any gray in between. So if somebody feels better than them, then there are two ways to win: to be better or push the other down. That's extremely simple. And what is easier to do when I talk to you, to push you down than to lift myself up? Because I can push you down in 20 seconds with a nasty remark, but to get a six-pack probably need 6 weeks and change my diet. So it's easy to make a horrible mistake. So it's the gut brain. It is in 9 out of 10 is they're jealous. So that's one thing. If people say something, it's all about they're jealous because they don't have it. Secondly, for ourselves, it's actually having a huge, good self-esteem. I am good enough. And it is actually, and in most educations, we are educated with conditional love. Hey, Christopher, be a good boy and bring out the garbage. Hey, Christopher, be a good boy for your sister, take care of your sis. So we believe as a child we're good if we do something. Conditional love. So we're never good enough. Unless you say, hey, Chris, you're just amazing, I love you. By the way, could you bring out the garbage? And so those are independent. Now, when I work with the people, actually the gifted self-esteem, you are amazing, even though you're not perfect. I always say to myself, I'm amazing. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, because I'm far from perfect, Terrain. Really far from perfect. But I'm amazing. Because me as a person is amazing, because I don't like to hurt other people. I don't do to somebody else what I don't like to be done by myself. That's it. But I will never run as quick as Usain Bolt. I will never drive a car as quick as Jos Verstappen. I will never be as smart enough as Elon Musk. I will never become president. But it doesn't make me less. It just makes me who I am. So I work with clients on their self-esteem. I am good enough. And I think at least 50% of this world population doesn't believe that I'm good enough, based on the education we got. And when people believe I'm good enough, they also somewhere get immune for what other people say. Because then they can say in the gym, hey, Chris, by the way, you only lift 60 kilos. That's not a lot. And I laugh at them and say, for me, it's totally perfect that I lift 60 kilos. Oh, wouldn't you like to do 80? I said, no, actually, I'm totally fine with 60. Why should I do 80? Oh, because it's more. I said, yeah, and? I said, is it your issue or my issue? And most times it's their issue. They project their life and their wishes on you. And with clients and for us and all our listeners, two things. You're good enough, period. And you don't have to be perfect for that. Secondly, anybody else who gives you a comment is just jealous and actually likes that you live the way they like to live. And that's their issue, not ours.
So that feeling of good enough, where I think so many people, to your point, struggle with it because confidence isn't something that everyone has, and it's a lot of times we have to either obtain it, earn it, or work towards it. When it comes to feeling good enough, for those out there who are struggling with that, where should that come from? Should that come from themselves, working within, outward, or like some people do with the fancy car, the big house, and the hot wife and the handsome husband? Does feeling good enough come from external factors?
No. I start laughing right away because I saw so many people who come with their Ferrari or Porsche and all the kind of stuff. And they say, oh, wow, look at my Porsche. Are you not jealous? I said, no, I just have a beautiful push bike. Why should I be jealous on your car? Oh, but you know how quick it goes. I said, no. I said, but my self-worth is not depending on how much bling bling I have. I said, so the gut brain likes to create self-worth if it does not have it by external. Because by the externals, it shows. If you have a Ferrari, you must be successful. If you have a lot of money, you must be successful. If you have big of muscles, you must be strong or healthy. It doesn't show. It just is showing off. Most times, those people are the most insecure and have a low self-esteem. And when they come into my room and I just push on them, they crack. Because in my room, there is no fancy car. There's just them and me. And then we're humans together. And the real self-esteem is coming from your gut and from your heart. In that, one is self-love. And secondly, your gut really has to believe I'm good enough. It does not mean I have to be perfect. Because perfect is actually an external thing, how we should be perfect. Because what is perfect, Terrain? If you go to all those magazines, now we have to look like Ken. So that means whatever it is. All the girls should look like Barbie. Now that doesn't fit because it's not real life. And should we then be as Elon Musk, as Donald Trump, as Usain Bolt, as Jos Verstappen, as Venus Williams, or Mother Teresa? There is no perfect. You know who's perfect? Every baby that is born. And the beauty is, when babies are say in the first 6 months, they all look like Michelins. They're chubby like hell. Nobody would almost say, hey, by the way, your baby is fat. Because they all know they need that. But when we would look like that, hey, you look fat. So the judgment steps in later on. And we are still those little babies. We're still perfect. Because as I said in the beginning, every cell in your body likes to be healthy. Everything inside us likes to be healthy. So everything inside us is actually perfect. So we are already perfect as we are. And yes, that means that maybe I'm white, another one is yellow, the other one has hair on his head, or no, I also have still hair, has hair, no hair, is maybe have a six-pack, not a six-pack, Ferrari, no Ferrari. But we're all perfect. Perfectness is actually how your body and mind is. And the body, I don't mean how it looks, but how your cells are working, how your body cells are working. And those are all perfect. Because just imagine for almost everybody, terrain, if we eat something or drink something, it gets digested by itself. All the things we eat and drink are being transformed into nutritions that build our muscles, that builds our skin, that replaces in 45 minutes we're already talking to each other, probably 100 million body cells. Without that we do anything about it. Is that not perfect? Is that not amazing? We are. We are amazing living creatures. So we have to go back to the origin. What is actually the definition of perfect? Perfect actually is how we are, that everything is actually healthy in us. Perfect for me is healthy. And that is mentally and physically healthy. And healthy does not mean a six-pack, does not mean 120 kilos of muscle. It does not mean you have to run in 10 seconds unless you're a 100%, 100-meter runner. It just means, hey, I'm healthy, my body and mind does what it does.
Then let
Then
me
you're
ask
perfect.
you, Chris, when it comes to people, because you mentioned a few things, and anytime I hear of like insecurity when it comes to people, I always remember it's like the man with the biggest car, right? It's
Yeah,
usually he's masking something for it that isn't
yeah,
as big, if you know what I
yes.
mean, right?
Absolutely.
Right? And then it's like,
The little
right,
pinky.
exactly, right? The pinky, right? And then it's like the women who use all these filters, then when you
Yeah,
see them in person, you're
yeah,
like, oh my God, it's like two different people.
yeah,
Like there's so many of us that have insecurities about a number of things. Some
yeah,
big, some small,
yeah,
somewhere in the middle, right?
yeah,
What about those who they don't mask their insecurities with objects such as a car,
yeah,
nice purse, whatever? What they do is they surround themselves with other people who they can manipulate to
yeah,
get things
yeah.
out of. What about those people, and how can we make sure that we don't get caught up in someone using us to maybe elevate themselves in a sense, and then when they've extracted all of our resources, time, and energy, they discard us?
Oh, amazing, good question. It happened so much. And if you go back, that's why I use three brains. The gut is about me, myself, and I. The heart is about bonding. The head is about all the logic. The heart is afraid of rejection. The gut is afraid of, say, what somewhere is in danger of his survival mechanisms. People who do these behaviors, most times um, have an overactive gut because they don't feel safe by themselves. So they manipulate others to somewhere get control and power, to somewhere feel good because they don't dare to be vulnerable. Because if they are vulnerable, you would see their real them, and they have a huge fear to be rejected. Because just imagine, I don't wear any makeup, I don't manipulate any people, and they see how I actually am, then nobody loves me. So I have to do those kind of things. So a lot of times it is a deep-rooted fear in them. If people know who I really am, they don't love me anymore. I'm not successful anymore. And that's again a huge fear that they have inside. How do we protect ourselves from that? That's actually, most people get affected by this. In my words, are the sweet people, are the nice people, are the heartbreak people who care about people and listen to people. And before you know, they get dragged into their system. And because the heart has an issue with saying no. Because no means actually I reject you. It's not true, but it just means I set the boundary. The gut is good in boundaries. For the people who I work with who say, Chris, but I'm drained by those people, or I get used by those people, or whatever. I'm in a peer group and all those peer group pressure on me. I learn actually then if I have a three brains test, and most times they did all the tests, it shows always a lower gut brain activity. And I teach them actually how to activate your gut and do self-care. And self-care means to say no. Self-care means to say, by the way, I help you so much. By the way, it means I don't like that you push yourself on me. By the way, I'm not going to do this for you. Uh, the gut brain says yes to me and also no to others. And those people I learn actually to set healthy boundaries, to let their gut speak up. And also, I teach them a gut brain person talks in fight and flight, talks by in manipulation, in pushing, in guilt, in contempt, in bullying, all kind of language. That's normal language for them. They don't mean anything. That's just how they act. And I learned the hard brain people, this is just how they communicate. So it's not personal, it's just how they communicate. So if you say to that person no, they don't like it, but that's normal language for them because they always say no. What they will do if you say no to them, they will push back. They will make you feel guilty. They will say you're not nice. They will say, oh, that's always you. Are you really my friend? Or say, you're useless. I don't use you and don't need you anymore. That's their system to win. I said, so don't take all those things personal. This is how the gut brain communicates to get their way. Because for the gut brain, it's winning or losing. And if you say no, the gut brain thinks, oh shit, because it thinks in shit. Right? Gut brain, oh shit, I'm going to lose. And it doesn't like to lose. So it will do everything to win. And it means manipulate, fight, play the guilt card, all this kind of stuff. And that's not personal, that's just how it is. And if I teach them to speak from the gut brain, also learn actually their systems, how to communicate and don't feel guilty about it, then people know, hey, I can say no. And if people say this to me, it's not personal, it's just how they communicate. That's okay. And I feel much better about that.
I'm glad you share that because I do feel bad that people get caught up, and I've seen a lot more women get caught up in those situations, especially when it's like a peer group because they feel
Oh,
that they don't want to
no.
rock the boat, right? Because
Yeah.
if they say something, to your point, if they say no and they set that
Mm,
boundary,
mm,
now it's not only the one person, it could be
uh,
two, it could be three, it could be four. Where men, we tell each other no all the time.
yeah.
Basically, right? We're like, you know
Yeah.
what, Johnny, I'm not going to do this tonight. I'm going to be home with my woman, or I'm going to be home with a
Yeah.
beer or
Yeah.
with the kids
Yeah.
or whatever, right? But it seems that women in general now struggle a little bit more standing up amongst their group and saying that, you know what, this doesn't work for me because of this. And I'll give you an example. So
Mm.
there's someone I shared a story with, sorry, they shared a story with me about one of their friends is cheating on her husband, right? Anytime they
Oh.
will go on vacation, she found out that when they go on vacation, she'll be hooking up with people on the vacation. So it could
Mm,
just it didn't have to be out of country. It could have been out of
mm,
state, out of
yeah.
city,
Yeah.
wherever.
Yeah.
And then when she told me this, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. And then I was like, so what do you think? What do you think? What impression do you think you're giving now that you know this information? You continue to go on vacation with them, knowing what they're doing, right? And she was like, well, it's probably bad, but it's none of my business. I'm like, okay, perfect. So now let's say it wasn't cheating. Let's say you were with a friend who beats up little children,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because, and I use this example because this person who told me the story has children, so I'm making it
Yeah.
relatable and personal. Or I wouldn't hang out with someone like that. I was like, why? I'm like, it's your friend doing bad behavior. Why is it excusable when it's one behavior, which doesn't necessarily impact you because you're not in a relationship, so no one can
Yeah.
cheat on you? But when it's a children, because you're a mother, you're not
Yeah.
willing to excuse it. Is it bad behavior is bad behavior, or is it bad behavior is only bad behavior when it is going to
Yeah.
impact you indirectly?
Yeah.
And she sat back and she was like, you're right. I was like, but here's the thing now. You're not going to stop being this person's friend.
Yeah.
She's like, you're right. Right? So I was like, this is what's going to happen. And I told her this. This was years ago.
Yeah.
There's going to come a time where this person, this group of friend is going to do something to you. And because you don't stand up today,
Yeah.
they're not going to stand up for you tomorrow. You know what happened, Chris? Months
Yeah.
later, she got into an argument with one of the peer group. They
Yeah.
all turned their back on her, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
she came to me and she messaged like, "Hey, Trent, how you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you know, things are good." And she's like, "Oh, by the way, I don't talk to those friends anymore." So I was like, "Oh, what happened?" And she shared the story. I was like, "That is interesting." And she's like, you were right. They didn't stand up for me." I was like, "You can't expect other
Yeah.
people to do for you
No,
what you don't do for yourself."
no,
What are your thoughts, Chris,
absolutely.
on that scenario?
No, you're so right, and you were spot on in that story. Yeah? People respect you also for the things you do and don't do. And when you don't stand up for your own values and for your own things, people start putting that label on you. This is how you are, and should we really care about you? If you don't care about this, why should we care about you? And that's actually a total, I would say again, a total normal gut-brain reaction. And by the way, on your point about men and females, it's so true. Okay. Besides, we all have three brains, females, males. But what happens in general, men are more educated to have a gut brain. Yeah. We boys have to be, now, one, we have to wear a blue shirt and not a pinky shirt when we are born. Uh, and we have to be strong. We have to play soccer or football. If we fall in the mud and come with some bruises at home, they say, "Oh wow, you had a nice play outside." If a girl would come home bruises and muddy, they say, "Hey, oh, you're a girl. Girls don't do that." So girls are educated much more socialized actually to be more hard brain, and guys are more educated, be more gut brain. So when you look and we are adults, you see also the behavior that we say, "Hey, now train not tonight. I'm actually going to be with my wife. I'm going to do something. We just sit along." Why females, as they are much more socialized and educated, they think, "Oh, but if I say no to terrain, maybe he's mad at me. So okay, I push my own boundaries and say yes to him." And 9 out of 10, that's a socialization problem. The funny part is, and we all do it. I have 3 kids, so I also let them wear blue. So I'm part of the issue. Although later on I put them all the clothes on. But sometimes when it's school, you come at school and you have those mothers and they look at you and they see the boy coming on with something nice, colorful, etc., etc. And they say, "Oh wow, he is really nice, colorful, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, beautiful clothes, is it? Yeah. Is it really boyish? Is it really what you put on a boy?" I said, "It's his size, so I assume yes." "Yeah, but those colors," I said, "what's with the colors? Are they not a little bit girly?" I said, "Colors are girly?" I said, "Could you give me one example in nature where color is really defined by gender?" So, because all in nature, there is no really a specific color for gender. So I'm a little bit lost. Why is that? And they look at the moms and they think, "Oh, this is one of those horrible dads. We don't talk to him anymore." But it's actually, I made it by myself. It is how we socialize kids. And how actually the peer group pressure of, now in this case were the moms at the schoolyard, who like this to push you already to socialize. Your kids start wearing that. And my kids just wear what they like and they still do the same as me. And that's okay. And if somebody else has an issue, it's your issue. It's not our issue. You have an issue with my shirt, it's your issue. So
So,
yes, this is
Chris,
so true.
yeah, I absolutely agree with you. So let me ask you then, as we close, because you mentioned socialization, and I love that aspect of how it impacts us. I'm going to give you three wishes. Aladdin's genie lamp, okay?
Oh yeah.
What you can't wish for money.
No,
What
not interested.
what are three things you wish people knew about the dangers of socialization and why?
The 3 wishes. Um, the moment we label kids, and it is based on the placebo effect. Placebo is if you believe it, it could happen. Every medicine is tested against placebo. You give them a sugar pill, real medication. Real medication does 50%, placebo does 30, 40%. So the moment you start labeling people, you put a placebo on them and they start behaving as the label. And so when we socialize, we actually label our kids in actually what they probably will become later on. So if you like to become your kids happy, beautiful people, label them like that. So that's the first thing about socialization that people become aware. Your label actually colors their outcome. Secondly, about socialization, and it is actually, when you look all around the world, there is no right and wrong in socialization. In some tribes, females are the most important. In some tribes, male are the most important. In some cultures, we're all about one collective. In other ones, we're all about individualism. There is no perfect one. But what I love, and that's a Dutch attitude partly, at least from the old days, in socialization, what you don't like that happens to you, don't do it to anybody else. That's, for me, something a key in socialization, to keep that as a compass in all the things for your own kids and for how you deal with people. Because if you don't like it happens to you, don't do it to your kids. If you don't like to be yelled about to you, don't yell to your kids. If you don't like to get a slap, don't slap your kids. If you don't like to go to bed without dinner, don't put your kids to bed without dinner. It's so easy to keep your mirror for you. And the third one about socialization, and that connects with me, but it is more about education. I loved in socialization that everybody becomes aware that we have three brains. They have three different kind of roles. And if you like that we become really beautiful persons in this world, and beautiful is not in the outside, but from the inside, you have to educate all three brains. Just like if you like to walk, you need two legs. If you like to be grounded and happy with yourself, you have to educate all the three brains. That means your gut brain has to be socialized. I'm good enough. Your heart has to be socialized. I take care about you, but also about myself. And your head brain somewhere gets socialized. There's knowledge. And in my actions, I know actually what the consequences of my actions are. If that happens in socialization, I would